Our next guest says neither side has the right answer yet, and more hard work needs to be done. Glenn Hubbard is the former top economic advisor to President George W. Bush and currently is the dean of the Columbia Business School here in New York City. Glenn, what more needs to be done before anybody can really claim to have a solution?
Well, I think we've got to do three things. First, realize that we have a very big problem. Second, that problem is principally a spending problem. And third, realize that the solution has to be broad-based. It can't simply be raising taxes on the rich or cutting benefits on the rich.
Glenn, everybody is coming around to the idea that spending is the problem and that it does need to be cut by a certain amount, and that seems to be where the crux of the debate is. In your opinion, how much do we need to reduce spending by?
Well, I think it's a how much, but it's an also on whom. We need to have progressive reductions in spending that don't hurt the least well-off among us. And so what that really means is reforming Social Security and Medicare to make benefit growth slower for more affluent individuals. We can do that gradually and accomplish what we need to do.
And do you agree that, or let me put it to you differently, do we need to cut $4 trillion over the course of the next 10 to 12 years or more?
I think we can cut $4 trillion over the next 10 years, but I think that's not enough in the sense of righting the fiscal ship, because our real problems are beyond 10 years. They go on for the foreseeable future. The real question is not how much do we cut this year or next, but do we put our budget on the right path? And that, again, is really going to be about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Glenn, do you agree with the Fed chairman that while these questions are not just important, they're absolutely critical to the medium and long-term health of the U.S. economy? You can't go about cutting spending too quickly because of the jeopardy that it might put the economy in for the short run.
Well, I think you have to be careful. It's certainly correct that if we did all of our spending reductions this year, that would not be a plus for the economy. But I think what business people are looking for is some credible signal that we're going to get our house in order. That will enable investment and job creation. And we need to do that for the future. So that's why I say the real answer is a credible spending path for the next 10 years or the next 20 years, not this year.
Can it be done without a tax component of some sort?
Well, as a matter of economics, yes. I mean, it certainly can't involve too much on the tax front because our real problem is a spending problem. To the extent that we raise taxes, the right answer would be to go after tax expenditures, not to raise marginal tax rates and hurt growth.
Glenn, ultimately the question everybody wants to answer is how fast can we get the economy growing again? Many people make the argument that all we've done with stimulus is replace private leverage with public leverage. If the public leverage has to be reduced, the economy has to be delevered on a public basis, is it possible that the economy can grow at a meaningful clip in the next few years?
Recovering from a financial crisis is always difficult. And even if the economy manages 3% growth in the coming quarters, which is the consensus outlook, that's still well below what we need to restore full employment. We can grow faster than we are growing now, but it would require better attention to fiscal policy than our leaders seem to be able to do.
So do you believe that there is not too much capacity in the economy, that somehow, even as we're taking the government out of the equation, that private industry will move in and fill the gap and ultimately get the economy back to producing close to its capacity?
Yes, and I think in order to jumpstart that, we need a credible fiscal path. Remember, non-financial corporate America is sitting on a mountain of cash. We don't have an inability to finance the expansion. The question is the huge amount of policy uncertainty that most business people feel from Washington. If we clear that up, we will see job creation and investment.
So you believe that policy uncertainty is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is it your opinion that policy uncertainty is the reason cash is sitting on those balance sheets and not merely the fact that they can't repatriate it from overseas?
I think it's a huge factor. I mean, obviously, tax policy and repatriation is a matter, too. But I think a big matter for business leaders is policy uncertainty, not just about tax, but about financial regulation, about health care, about the overall regulatory climate in the country. If you're a business leader, you really don't know what to expect in the next few years.
Glenn, good of you to join us here on Bloomberg Television and In the Loop. Glenn Hubbard, Dean of the Columbia Business School, former top economic advisor to George W. Bush.